My name is Aaron Studebaker, and I'm with the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian Community. Appreciate the opportunity to come speak with you today. It actually came from a previous speaker that you had, somebody from the city of Scottsdale, who I actually know and communicate with a lot. And it sounds like when that presentation was happening, there were a lot of questions that he kept saying, actually, that's Salt River, that's not Scottsdale. So connected the dots, and that's why I'm here today. So I work within our community development department. I run a division called Special Projects. So that gives me the opportunity to know, I guess, a little about a lot for the Salt River community, so I can kind of cover anything. Today, very casual presentation. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask. Trust me, I have heard every question you could ever imagine. So if you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, should I ask that? Feel free. There's nothing that I haven't heard, and if I don't want to or can't share the information, you will definitely know that. But it's always great to get out and speak to different groups, because the Salt River community and tribal communities a lot of times are mysterious to individuals. You know, I am a guest on the community. I am a non-native. I have the opportunity, as many other staff members, to work and serve the Salt River community. It is an unbelievable place to work. It's an unbelievable organization to be a part of, and I'm honored to be here to represent the community. I've been with the community almost 13 years. I started out running sales and marketing for Salt River Fields, the spring training facility. And after about four and a half years, the opportunity presented itself to move over to the government side and kind of expand my kind of capabilities and work a lot on some of the government aspects, more of the businesses that the community operates, work on tourism, work on development, work with a lot of our 1,500 staff members within the government. So our division, Special Projects, we operate a lot of those projects that may not fit perfectly in the wheelhouse of other divisions within the community. Today, I'm going to generally talk about the community, talk about some development history, some active development, what's coming soon, and showcase some of the projects that are either under construction or just recently opened. Again, questions throughout is definitely welcomed. It's important to know about Salt River before we kind of dive into the information. The Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian Community is approximately 52,600 acres. The boundary of the community on the western boundary is Pima Road. That's probably the most recognizable. The boundary is actually the middle of Pima Road. So if you're driving northbound on Pima, you're within Salt River. You're driving southbound, you're within Scottsdale. So we have an intergovernmental agreement with Scottsdale to maintain the roads to kind of keep up that great communication. We have an unbelievable relationship with Scottsdale and all of our neighboring municipalities, but anyone that's been around the valley for many, many years, that wasn't always the case. But today, we are very, very proud to call all of our neighbors partners. And again, Scottsdale is the reason why I'm sitting here today. It's comprised of two tribes, the Pima and the Maricopa, in two districts. The largest district is the Salt River District, which is what you'll see if you're driving up and down the 101. The Lehigh District is a smaller district kind of off of Power Road area within Mesa. There are just around 11,000 community members, which are governed by a 9-member council, president, vice president, 7 council members. They are all members of the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian Community. Everything is done on business leases, long-term leases, and we have over 50 kind of large-scale leases within the community that are comprised of master leases. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Within our commercial corridor, we also have over 21,000 jobs available for anybody. We are unique because we're also a municipality that own businesses within our own boundaries. So we own things like our gaming enterprises, Talking Stick Resort and Casino Arizona, spring training facility in Salt River Fields, but all the way down to things like a landfill and a sand and gravel operation. So it's a very diverse portfolio of businesses that the community owns. I mentioned about land leases. I'll keep this very high level. Everything is done on a long-term lease. Businesses that are interested in coming in do leases up to 99 years. There are two types of landowners. There's what's referred to as allotted landowners and tribal landowners. Tribal landowners is the tribal government. So if a user, and a good example of that is Great Wolf Lodge, number 3, they came in, they pinpointed a piece of land, The landowners, the tribal government, our tribal council, they're the final decision-making body. They determine, yes, we are going to lease to this organization. But majority of the land you see within Salt River is allotted land, and that's owned by individual Native American families. You could have a parcel where there's one landowner, or you could have 200 landowners. It just depends throughout time how things have kind of fractionized and grown. On the development side, some people may say, well, that sounds very complicated. Well, it's just different. As you see up and down the 101 corridor, there's been a lot of success for development. We have teams that do the whole process, that work through it. It's not difficult, it's just different. So we do everything on long-term lease, whether it's with individual families or with the tribal government. The reason that's also important is that kind of helps explain some of the things within our commercial corridor. You may see large pieces of land that is undeveloped and say, wow, that is a prime piece of real estate. Why has that not been developed? The landowners may just have no interest in developing. You know, it's one of those that money burns, land is forever, is a mentality within the community. And some generations would rather keep natural land because that's where, you know, previous generations lived. Also, the freeway is a good example. People sometimes ask, why are there are these random juts in the freeway? Well, when the freeway was being explored, this parcel said yes, they moved to the north parcel, and that landowner said no. Well, you shift over, this landowner says yes. Then this landowner says yes, so you shift over. So those were all landowners that said we would be willing to lease as part of the freeway. So obviously in a perfect world, it was a straight line north, but not all of those landowners were interested, and not all of those landowners are developing today. So development takes time too. We are still truly in the infancy stages of development, with a lot of it happening, you know, in the 80s to today. But before that, all of the pre-development documents had to be created, and those really didn't start until the 50s or 60s. So you talk about the city of Scottsdale and other municipalities, a lot of people are in the redevelopment phase because they've developed, the businesses were there for many, many years, and now they're redeveloping to the second use. We are really just scratching the surface on the first uses within the community. So here's kind of a timeline of some of our very important developments, but the biggest one is probably 2001 when the 101 freeway came. That really created that traffic driver that, you know, took individuals off of Pima Road and really made you know, the valley more accessible, and that created the commercial corridor. Talk about, you know, the development before 1986, when there were no roads here. That also meant there were no utilities. So, you know, in order to develop things, you need power, sewer, you know, water, all of that. So the roadways had to be constructed. Then going into 1989, really the first development with the Scottsdale Pavilions, which is now today the Pavilions at Talking Stick, open, and then kind of branched to Talking Stick Golf Club, ultimately some business developments like the Pima Center and Riverwalk, and the Loop 101 helping everything expand. September of 2006, Talking Stick Resort, which at that point was breaking ground. You know, we went through a lot of different adaptations of gaming there. If you've been here, remember big sprung structure tents moving all the way to the casino that it is today. The economic downturn came, and for many, that was an awful time. For Salt River, they looked at it as an opportunity for growth, and that is when Talking Stick Resort transitioned to the Vegas-style casino it is today. That's when Salt River Fields was built. The community was able to employ over 2,500 construction workers and built those two products because construction was in low demand. Materials were in low demand, able to get things for pennies on a dollar. There was a lot of interest in development. When I say no one will ever outdo Salt River Fields, that is because no one will be ever willing to pay what Salt River did for that facility, because we were able to get it for pennies on a dollar then. My first 4.5 years here, you know, got the opportunity to tour a lot of Major League Baseball teams around there, and you saw their eyes open and then their realization of, we're never going to be able to do this. It is the Taj Mahal of spring training facilities for both the fan experience as well as for the team experience. But that really kicked off a lot of additional development, some additional hospitality, like the 2 courtyard properties down at Chaparral. and then brought us to where we are today with many, many entertainment, hospitality, retail, office spaces within our commercial corridor. Our focus on the future is going to be south of what we call the Talking Stick Entertainment District. So I would say, Chaparral South will be a lot of the focus. We're still in the early stages. Most of that land is allotted land, so it's working with a lot of landowners, but our large team of people are working with individuals, so that's going to be kind of the next wave. We'll still fill in gaps up within the Talking Stick Entertainment District, but as far as anything large scale, it would probably be more on the southern corridor. Just a breakdown of where some of our business enterprises are located. Now what people actually care about, what's coming, what's happening. You drive up and down the 101, you see a lot of construction happening. You see right at kind of our northern boundary, 101 and 90th Street. This is a location called The Edge. A development group called Palmer Development has constructed that. There's a lot of great restaurants and some retail and some service-oriented businesses. There is a construction site happening right now, which is, we'll just say it's a prominent burger chain that's going to be coming to the area that people will be very excited about. Across the street, we have Dutch Brothers within Sierra Bloom, as well as a behavioral health facility. This is ultimately going to be a approximately 43-acre health campus, which is going to be supportive to everything that's north in Scottsdale. That developer looked at the opportunity to kind of fill some of those health need gaps. Although there's a lot of, up by Scottsdale Shea, there's still a lot of medical uses that aren't within that area. So when that is fully developed, it really is going to be a great medical hub for the entire valley, for the entire Southwest, truly. If you've ever been to that Dutch Brothers, you may have noticed the design is a little different than the other Dutch Brothers you've seen around the valley. That's one of the unique things within Salt River is we have some design criteria that are necessary for developers to come in. So everything is different. So they're able to say that this is kind of a one-of-a-kind type of facility. And not all businesses are all about changing their brand, but the businesses that understand kind of the importance of getting the cultural and the history into something as simple as basket designs and pottery designs are really the right partners for Salt River. Heading down to the south at Pima Road and Pima Parkway, so that is just kind of the 90th Street exit right on the 101, just south of there. You'll see a lot of dirt moving. Well, actually, I've got another slide on that one coming up. The block, this is the location at Via de Ventura on the 101 where White Castle is, as well as some other restaurant and retail and hospitality. That's been a very successful and great addition to that corner that was kind of desperately needing some restaurant and retail uses. A great one that's open this year is the Banner Health Sports Medicine Facility. This is right across the freeway from Salt River Fields next to Top Golf. It is the state-of-the-art sports medicine facility in the Southwest. It is going to be from professional athletes to your weekend warrior that may have blown out your knee playing pickleball or golf or whatever you may be doing. They have virtual reality incorporated. If you drive, you see there's a 40-yard football field outside. It is incredible. They engage with a lot of the professional sports teams in the valley, including the ones right across the street within Salt River Fields, to make it such a great facility. That's going to be great for a destination for employment, as well as people coming for rehab needs. And then the South 65, this is south of the pavilions at Talking Stick. The same developer, Dorito Partners, has obtained that land. They're going to be doing some expansion for some additional development there. That's probably going to be a little more of your light industrial use, office use, but as the market is ever shifting, I think they're on plan 56 of their different ideas of what's going to go there. So everything is always shifting. So, mention the Edge. Again, this is where I said the kind of prominent burger chain. They've got a lot more to build out with some additional office, some restaurants. So this will be a great kind of area on the northern boundary. Great for that exit, which truly didn't have a lot for restaurant opportunities right off of the freeway. But one I personally am very excited about. This is the Sydney, which again is at the 101 and the kind of 90th Street exit. This is going to bring a lot more of the experiential kind of restaurants that we have seen within the area. It has 3 concepts that are working to come. The Rustic, which is the top one, this is going to be kind of a live music restaurant venue. There's going to be another one called Good Surf. So if you've ever seen those surf machines, easiest way to put it, go have dinner, have some drinks, watch people wipe out on a surf machine. It's going to be super entertaining. So, and if you, again, get a little too many drinks in you, safely, you can go on there and try it out yourself. And then pickleball, super popular. There's a lot of kind of pickleball concepts where you eat and drink and then go play. Similar to the Top Golf, where sports are incorporated, but it may not be the top priority. So I think there are going to be a lot of people experiencing definitely Good Surf and Pickle and Social, and then ending up at the Banner facility across the street, and they blow out their knee or something. So, but this will be great. It's adding to our entertainment district, adding to that experiential aspect. That is where a lot of the entertainment market is going. Is people want more than just. We all want more than just sitting down and having a meal. We want something added to it. So these should be great additions to the area. A project that is currently under construction. You'll see, right at the 101 between the pavilions, kind of the backside of the pavilions and Salt River Fields is Popstroke. Popstroke is a brand that is owned by Tiger Woods and others. There's one in Glendale that has recently opened up, but it is a super high quality putt-putt course. So yes, this is putt-putt that you see on the upper right here. Different types of turf, so it simulates the rough and the sand traps. You can order drinks on your phone and they'll be delivered to you on the course. It's open in the evening, so it'll be a kind of a great experiential aspect of things. So we are very excited for that to be added to the area. So a lot of what I've talked about is traditional development. That's your restaurants and retail. One of the things that we are extremely proud about that has come to Salt River within the last 5 years is the USS Arizona Memorial Gardens at Salt River. This is located right between Salt River Fields and Great Wolf Lodge, and it is the home of the largest piece of the USS Arizona boat outside of the memorial at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Years ago, the community, which is a very military-focused organization, had the opportunity to get the boathouse, which you may know the memorial in Hawaii, there's the big white building. Well, before the white building, there was a large piece of the boat sticking out of the water. When they built the white building, that was removed, put into storage. That piece is what we have within Salt River. So we created a large-scale memorial that is actually the exact size of the boat. It represents everybody that was on the boat, and all of those lights that you see come on at sundown, and those represent everybody that lost their life on that day. This building kind of in the center is where the boathouse is housed. It's all free. It was all funded by the community, and it's something that the community did to honor the military, honor everybody that was part of that historic day, and want people to come and experience it. If you have not checked it out, I would highly recommend it. Check it out during the day, check it out at night. It is 2 completely different experiences, especially at night. Bring some tissues, it'll get you, but it is a great education piece. It's amazing to be there, see kids and families walk over from Great Wolf Lodge with their ears on, and just see that educational component, because truly the youth, they don't know a lot about that day. My generation and other generations only knew about it from the Josh Hartnett and Ben Affleck movie,
right.
And it's a great way to give that information and talk about a very historical day. So we are extremely honored to be able to hold that piece on behalf of the memorial in the Hawaii, and to present it here within the Salt River Indian community. So also shows one of our great venues, Great Wolf Lodge, the indoor water park resort, has been an extremely successful endeavor, being the only Great Wolf in Arizona, and one of the only ones in kind of a warmer climate. And we are thrilled by the kind of the pocket this has made with Salt River Fields, the Memorial, and Great Wolf Lodge. This is honestly just warning you about some construction that's coming on. Pima Road is going to be expanded. So if you've ever driven down Pima Road, you see that it kind of jumps from 2 lanes to 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 4 lanes. And that's because the 4-lane doesn't happen until a development happens. So when something like Salt River Fields or the McKesson office buildings, which has changed tenants, the roadways were expanded as part of those. But there's a lot of areas that are still kind of older, kind of 2-lane roads. The Salt River community actually obtained a significant grant with the Department of Transportation to help pay for this project, which is a joint Salt River, Scottsdale, ADOT, MDOT, everybody, all the dots. So the community is taking the lead on this project, but in conjunction with the city of Scottsdale. And starting later this year, there will be significant construction kind of starting on the northern boundaries heading down. So the next couple of years on Pima Road is definitely going to be a mess at times. But when it's all said and done, it'll alleviate traffic on the freeway. It'll give kind of the ability to spread things out. Ultimately, the north-south traffic within this area will be much, much better as part of the overall project.
So from Shea, how far south?
It'll go all the way down to McDowell.
Wow.
And then I will tell you, right now there's no connection between McDowell and McKellips. That is part of the discussion as well, to kind of connect it to kind of that one dead zone. So that's a great example of kind of the cross-governmental projects that we do to work with our neighbors like the city of Scottsdale to ensure that we are maximizing everything to kind of create a great experience for whoever's going to come to the area.
That's come a long way. Remember when they shut down half the road? Were you here then?
I was not here, but I've heard plenty of stories about it. But yeah, that was not a good time for the relationship, but today is a completely different story. So that's me. That went faster than I thought, but I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. I'm happy to answer anything and everything you may have. I can dive into some more stuff if there aren't a lot.
Okay, so I don't know if you can answer this or not. What do you know about a proposed project from the pavilions south between Pima and the 101 for a hockey stadium with a monorail that goes around to Talking Stick and all that stuff? Know anything about it?
So that piece of land is allotted land. And that piece of land is something that developers have control of the land. And proposals are put in front of our developers a lot. There's a lot that hits the media. The people don't even ask Salt River a question about it and make assumptions, and things go to the media. The only thing I'm going to say about the sports facility is, and I mentioned this briefly when a smaller group was in here, every sports development that you see, not only in the valley, but all throughout the country, if it's a mixed-use development, includes a significant amount of residential, a lot of times multifamily. Salt River does not have any residential for non-community members. And the reason why a lot of those developments do it is because stadiums are money holes, and they need those other usage to kind of justify. Not sure the math problem if we were to say, hey, no residential, works out on something like that. So there's always crazy ideas that float around, but I wouldn't say, buy a property right across the street with the intention of it being an Airbnb for a sports facility.
And everything is still a 30-year lease, correct?
It can be up to 99-year lease.
Oh.
Yeah, so it can all be 99-year lease for lending and all. That's as close to a purchase as you can get. Mm-hmm. So things are done for fair market value. So everything is done on appraised value. We do have a lot of people that come, especially from out of state, and think that I'm a professional in this. I'm gonna get a great deal on the community, and then they come and realize that we have a lot of professionals on our side as well, and think when they pitch and say, oh well, it's going to be great for the casino, it's going to be great for employment, so I only need to pay like pennies on the dollar for the land. Like, nice try. Here's what the fair market value, here's what the appraisals are saying. Also, try to get a table on Saturday at either of our casinos. We're not in huge demand for that. We have 21,000 jobs. We have 11,000 community members. So our demand for employment, and employment's great for everybody, but that's why we ensure that everything is done for the right point, for the long-term impact. The community actually has a 7-generational mindset. So every decision that is made is not only how it's going to impact today, tomorrow, but potentially 7 generations from now. So that's that's why you haven't seen a lot of the flash in the pan type of concepts come to the community, because everything is looked at for that long-term sustainability.
Is the Edge Shake Shack? Can you say?
It could be.
It said it up there.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I heard that. I heard that a couple weeks
So we have to be delicate. It's, sometimes our developers will put something on a piece of paper. We'll steal it off their documentation. So word didn't come out of my mouth, but if you were a Sherlock Holmes and read a slide.
This is all important to me. Real important to me.
So.
And when's the opening of Pop Stroke, do you know?
No, it's not that I can't say that. They have had some construction challenges. They were hoping to be open by now. They were actually supposed to be hoping to be open by last spring training, but we won't go into those details. I would say, if I were to guess, it's probably going to be, it could very well be between October 1 and January 1. So they're in the fine detail portion of things. So.
Is it possible to get these slides?
Yes, I have.
She has them already.
Found me to be.
Oh no! Come on. There's got to be some harder hitting questions. Than these,
I've done that hockey thing though. I heard a $387 million bill to the Reds, and they were going to build it and keep it busy with conferences and not only hockey but all kinds of stuff. And based on what the native community has done in Arizona, it makes a ton of sense. And when Tempe went down, it was like, okay, let's go back and revisit this thing at Salt River. And I mean, it just makes a ton of sense. And I heard there was also maybe some high-end shopping maybe be added on the north side, so that the monorail would go.
I can actually squash that.
The aquarium.
I can guarantee you there won't be a monorail of anything. The Salt River community owns a sports facility. We own Salt River Fields. I do not see Salt River owning a sports facility moving forward. We have so many. If you guys would like to do a bake sale and pull together $500 million, we'd be happy to change that. But
well, some of the stuff they bake nowadays, we might be able to.
So it's one of those that there's a reason they're having a tough time finding a home, and there's challenges everywhere. And again, there's a lot of discussions happening, whether it's on sports. I'm surprised somebody hasn't brought up movie studios. Months ago there was an article about a movie studio that was coming to Salt River, and we're like, sounds good. Yeah, it has not come across our desk for any sort of regulatory approval or anything. So there's a lot of, again, those assumptions that may be out there. If a private developer who isn't asking for $400 million would like to come and develop something like a large-scale arena, we would absolutely entertain. But if you were to look at the ownership structures of sports facilities across the country, there are very, very, very few that are owned by anybody but the local municipality. I know this is hard to do, but assume Scottsdale is farmland and look at just Salt River. Salt River is a rural community. So this is something where we have very limited tax collection opportunities. So the way that tax works on the community is you do a transaction, the local tax, the 1.75% tax, is all that stays within Salt River. The 6.3% goes back to the state of Arizona. At the end of the year, state of Arizona redistributes some of that tax back to Scottsdale, to Mesa, to Tempe. Salt River is not part of that equation. So the fact that we have very few tax capturing capabilities in comparison to some of these large municipalities, and the fact that we only see the 1.75%, the economics behind those type of transactions are not nearly as important as people may think they are. things like our gaming enterprise and keeping Salt River Field active and keeping our hotels active are kind of much more of an impact. So on paper, some things like a arena may sound awesome. A lot of things don't pencil out.
Yeah.
So it's like you're to say, hey, Payson, I think you should build a hockey arena. You're like, why does that make sense? I mean, there's truly a lot of comparisons. Yes, we have great neighbors and have a lot of population around us, but at the end of the day, we're a small community.
What's the population of the res 10 years ago to today, 15 years ago to today? What do those numbers look like?
It's actually pretty similar. A lot of it is because very little residential has been added in the last 20 years. So out of about 11,000 community members, there are about 6,000 that live within the community boundaries. And really the only ways to live within the community boundaries is let's actually use these 4 desks as an example. These are all separate parcels. Actually, you guys are sitting at those, so you each own your own parcel. If you have your own parcel and say you're the only owner, you've got 80 family members, you've got 10 family members, you've got 5 family members. If you want to build on your piece of land, you've got to get the majority of your family to say yes. You're easy, you're by yourself, you make that decision. Good luck. So in order to build on the community like that, there are a lot of those uniqueness. The community tries to kind of supplement that by looking at other opportunities, by building homes throughout time. But a lot of those homes in the past were done through federal funding, through HUD, and those were built and they're income-driven units. Well, the Salt River community is referred to as a per cap tribe, and what that means is individuals get a percentage of gaming revenue on a quarterly basis. Well, as salaries increase, as per cap is paid out, truly, if there are 2 adults that have jobs and get per cap, you automatically exceed those income limits. So the housing that has been on the community becomes ineligible for a lot of those individuals. So people are moving off the community. There's a lot of challenges when looking to develop residential on the community. So I'm going to give an example. We've had many conversations for multifamily products for community members only. Well, if you're a developer and you have the choice of either developing a 150 apartment complex in Scottsdale, who your potential resident could be anyone, or in Salt River, where you only have a maximum of 11,000 community members, you start pulling out people that already own a home, people that are underage and all, your potential client base is very, very small. So it becomes challenging to create that math problem to work. And Salt River has done a lot of amazing things where the community has done it themselves. Can't do everything. And we've tried, and we actually have 5, only 3, 2 of them open residential projects that have opened or that are under construction right now. But they're little kind of 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom duplex type of concepts. But it is going to be the first ever non-income driven rental product ever on the community. In opening later this year or next year. I mean, that is hard to believe, that the first ever rental that is non-income driven. So talk about the infancy. We're behind the 8 ball on a lot of those things, and until we can get a lot of those things fixed, which are the true priorities of the community, things like spending $400 million on an arena or things like that is not top of the list.
There's a 5-house complex just south of SCC, and that was based right after, I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it was right after the whole casino thing got closed, and there was a large influx of money to every member of the tribe. It's my understanding. Wasn't that kind of like a precursor of what they were looking to do? It's like a single family that bought that or owned that property and they built like 5 homes or something?
So that is one family that, say in your equation, where you've got 80 family members, many of them came together, and each of the homes is a different member of the family.
Right.
So they're building within their own parcel. They all agreed on what they wanted to do. That is actually a business owner that owns a business within the community, and their decision for the use of their land was to build kind of their own little neighborhood. But they can't, they can't have, their best friend can't come over and build on their land because, it's their land. So if, truly we wish there were more capabilities for families to be able to do that, but some of the nuances of how kind of the trust land is structured within Salt River and within all Native communities, this isn't just Salt River, makes that challenging. And we're trying to update a lot of things, but at the end of the day, the Bureau of Indian Affairs is the federal agency that regulates things, and there's only so many capabilities. So we try to do what we can.
It's amazing the relationship, how it's changed since the day they shut half of Pima down. I mean, that was ugly. Anybody, did you live here?
Probably.
That was crazy. You couldn't go anywhere south or north unless you took paid.
Yep.
It shut down half of it. And now it seems like a very good relationship. Is that Scottsdale and
Yeah, it is, without a doubt. All of our neighboring
Mary
municipalities.
Manross has had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it definitely was leadership at the time, but things have grown, and a lot of it is looking at how we can benefit each other. I know our neighboring municipalities love when we bring in large employment drivers, love when we bring in other entertainment, because it either is going to be amenities that their current residents, their visitors, or even gives them the ability where the McKesson buildings, when they were built, that's going to be 3,000 employees that are going to be working in there. It's like, this is great. Maybe a developer is going to look across the way to build something in the city of Scottsdale. McDowell Road corridor, when it used to be all car dealerships, that is actually a win for both parties, where those car dealerships moved from Scottsdale onto Salt River. Yes, the tax is now within Salt River and it's not in the city of Scottsdale, but the city of Scottsdale had such a demand for multifamily products and other residential products. Their ultimate vision was to do that, and it's better to keep it so that now those car dealerships are still an amenity for Scottsdale residents. It's not a McDowell, it's just a little down the road. So those are the type of things that everybody looks at. You go to Experience Scottsdale's website, you'll see a lot of things, and if you're like, wait a second, that's within the Salt River Indian community, because they're going to promote Talking Stick Resort as being kind of their gaming facility for visitors. They're going to promote that there's 2 spring training facilities within, a stone's throw from all the Scottsdale resorts. We all work together on those type of things because we have kind of the all boats rise mentality.
Is there an ultimate, I'm sorry guys, I won't ask all the questions. So there's only really so much you can do as far as the reservation is concerned in proximity to Scottsdale. The DIA or the res have plans all the way down to McDowell where it pretty much ends? I mean, you can't expand it, obviously. Scottsdale can't expand your way, you can't expand our way.
Correct. So our boundary right here is it's the riverbed. So kind of right here where the Salt River
Rio
is.
Slot.
Say that.
All the way down to Rio Slot.
So we don't get that far. So it's truly the Salt River riverbed is where it stops. So the 202 boundary is perfect. We don't go anything further south than that. There's no expansion. Salt River could if for example when Big Surf was for sale, we could have purchased that. There is a process where communities are kind of able to kind of make other pieces of land, trust land. A good example of that is the casino, Desert Diamond Casino in the West Valley. If you kind of know the history behind all of that, that is a portion of the Tonomotum Native American community here within the valley. There's a long story of why that is, but that became part of their community here within the valley as part of kind of a land trade type, and they ultimately turned it into a casino. So there's those capabilities. Our focus, especially with the amount of undeveloped land, is within the boundaries of the community. We're not eager to jump outside of the community. But a lot of the land that you see here is allotted land, so it's working with our landowners to determine what the landowners want to do and what's going to help and impact them for those kind of 7 generations.
Very interesting.
I have a stack of cards that I put up here. Always have people that say, God, I wish I asked that question, or I was scared to ask that question. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer it. It's more important that the right information is out within the world than kind of assumed information. Again, going back to the media, a lot of times the media, when they get a no comment from the community, they just assume that means yes. No, it just means no comment. So we have a lot that goes on behind closed doors because we don't use tax funding and all. But nothing's real until a shovel's in the ground and things are starting to be built. When you're dealing with things like different families that own land, I mean, my wife and I have a hard time deciding what we're going to have for dinner. Just think about making a commitment of doing a development that's going to be 99 years. Things have died at the 11th hour before, so we never try to create that unrealistic expectation of what's going to come. Because at the end of the day, myself, I'm not a commercial real estate broker. I don't make an extra dollar if something happens. We're here to be the regulatory side, to work with the families and do what's right for the Salt River community, because what we are able to do development-wise helps everything else from education to housing to medical, all the services that are provided for the 11,000 community members within the Salt River boundaries.
So nothing south right now? No big plans or anything that way?
That's what he's telling you.
I know, like, come on, anything?
So we're doing analysis. So for example, this area down here, McKellips Road, east of the 101, north of the 202, it's a sand and gravel operation. That's something that's been around since the 60s. There were a lot of holes dug up and filled, and a lot of times they weren't filled as they were supposed to be filled. So before we can even consider putting a shovel in the ground, we got to figure out what we're dealing with. I mean, we also have an operation that's going there that's moving up to the Beeline Highway to a new operation. We've got to get them off. We've got to evaluate the land. Will we develop down there? 100%. Are we going to have a groundbreaking in the next 6 months? Absolutely not. So there's a lot of that happens behind the scenes, going back to that timeline that I showed, that has to happen before development can even be considered. So I wish I could say, yeah, there's something super awesome and exciting to say, but kind of that southern portion is more of the evaluation stage at this point.
Aaron, how does it work as far as the community? If a new project comes, I mean, if you're in Scottsdale, it takes forever to get something approved. It's got to go through 9,000 different channels and all that. Is it safe to assume it's different on the reservation as far as who approves? I mean, if there's only 11,000 total people involved, that process seems like it would be different.
It's different. It's not faster, but it's different. The due diligence has to happen on everything. Whether it's a family-owned piece of property, whether it's a government-owned piece of property, we have the same planning and zoning. We have the same compliance. We have environmental. We've got archaeological. So the same things happens, just kind of a different type of flow. The way that it works is ultimately, let's use the pavilions as an example. A developer will come in and get a master lease. That is Dorito Partners, prominent commercial developer. They came in, they have that entire area under master lease. Then they have parameters to be able to do things within that master lease to bring in the Targets and the Home Depots and the Bam Kazams and the Popeyes. So they are given kind of those guidelines, and as long as they're following those guidelines, we're kind of a box check regulatory side. Where it kind of gets a little more, I guess, complicated or different is when it's something that's starting from scratch, when it's that master lease that needs to be started and the process needs to go. A master lease itself could take 2 years or more, depending on what that landowner structure is, and that's not uncommon to even a sale transaction within the city of Scottsdale. We're closer probably to more of kind of when you hear about a piece of state land that gets sold or leased off, we're probably closer to that comparison than a kind of a direct sale transaction within the city of Scottsdale. We try to say that we are easier. Part of that is we have a lot more staff. I think the city of Scottsdale's economic development department has like 9 people. Within community development, we have 84.
Jeez.
We have a few extra steps, but we have the people to ensure that those processes go smooth and that we're able to get it through.
It's gonna be faster than Charlie. Okay, I'll say it. You don't have to say it. It's gotta be.
Well, truly, it depends on the other side too. A lot of the delays are not us. It's developers that come in and they bring attorneys that aren't familiar with tribal law. They bring architects that aren't even familiar with Arizona regulations. They bring lenders that have never lent on tribal communities before, and that's what slows things down. I never want to say it's not us, but a lot of times it's not us. So
That's fair. That makes perfect sense.
That's what we say as agents.
yeah,
Put a lawyer in it, it'll slow everything down. I promise.
It's not us, it's
they got to pay for their next vacation, right?
That's right.
For the billable hours.
The next tea time, like, talking stuff.
So, well, I appreciate
The rates are going up too high, or I'm just kidding.
supply and demand, my
I'm just
friend.
kidding.
Supply and demand. I appreciate the time. Unfortunately, I have to jet out, but I think your lunch is